UFC 313, baby. It's this weekend. It's been a long time coming, honestly. I mean, I feel like we've been talking about Pereira versus Ankalaev for months and months now. So the fact that it's actually here and it's actually a pretty good card, we're going to break it all down here. Well, almost all of it, because today we're going to be covering the main card and the prelims for 313. Pretty good card, so shout out Uncle Dana for that. Looked a little bit rough at first, but honestly, everything's been coming together. And even with the last minute co-main change, it's honestly still a solid replacement. So we're going to be just breaking that down today and just starting off with the fight of all time, baby. Yeah! This is the fight for all the hardcores, alright? For all the single ladies in the back. We got Alex Morono, man turned Muppet, taking on Carlos Leal, who arguably had one of the worst robberies of last year. Robbery losses, I should say, because that's the big talking point with Carlos Leal here, and that's going to be my prediction. Leal, first of all, just want to say that, but Carlos Leal, the big story with him is obviously coming off of his last performance against Renat Fakardinov at UFC 308. Very close fight, don't get me wrong, very competitive. It was a fun back and forth, but at the end of the day, I feel like more people than not had Carlos Leal winning that fight, and just so happens that, of course, first night to open up a motherfucking Saudi Arabia card, or was it Abu Dhabi? Does it even fucking matter? The oil money, baby. Yeah, Uncle Dana, yeah, you're giving away Carlos Leal for this shit. Renat Fakardinov stole that one, and a lot of people thought that Leal took it. Granted, was a close fight, but Leal, man, coming in, I believe it was a short notice change as well, and a last minute replacement for Leal, and I'm pretty sure his UFC debut, so the fact that he was stepping up in all these circumstances really just kind of shows that the fact that he was able to hold his own against a guy like Fakardinov, who I kind of rate very fairly. Like, I feel like he's somebody who can hold his own against a lot of guys in the rankings, or pretty much beat most of the people outside of it. So Renat Fakardinov is a guy who is very good in his own right. Say whatever the fuck you want about him winning via robbery, still a good talent, still a good fighter. So for Leal to make it that competitive, say whatever you want, I feel like he could pretty much take out Morono however the fuck he wants in this fight, because this great fucking white bit, what the hell is this motherfucker gonna do? Okay, plus 550, so the odds makers see it, you probably see it, I see it. Morono is just one of those guys. There's just nothing in this guy's game, man, that's gonna stand out to me, alright? The striking, it's kind of pitter-patter, alright? Not much there, there's not much to the ground, there's not much of anything, cardio, fight IQ. You're not really looking at Alex Morono and breaking down the traits and looking for a 99 overall, right? You're gonna want to flip those numbers upside down, because that's what you're getting with Alex Morono. I just don't really see how he's going to be winning this fight. This seems like kind of a layup for Leal to kind of get into the win column here. We got to move on from this fucking fight, alright? I feel like this next fight, now we're starting to step up, alright? I feel like 313, like I said, it's a good card. Step by step on the prelims, you're kind of getting better and better here, because Bruno Ferreira taking on Armin Petrosyan is a good scrap and a hard one to call. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to be going with too many underdogs for this card, but I am going to be going with Bruno Ferreira, who's sitting, at least to my knowledge right now, at a plus 125, and I like that money, alright? Am I going to make a bet on Ferreira, or am I going to add him to the parlay? I don't know if I'm that confident, but I'm going to be picking him to win this one. Petrosyan, don't get me wrong, I feel like is underrated, to be honest. You look at that 9-4 or 8-4 record and you think, alright, like, maybe this guy's a bit of a jabroni, maybe this guy's a bit of a jobber, but I actually think Petrosyan's a pretty underrated striker, to be honest with you. And he was making it semi-competitive against Shara Bullet, who I rate kind of highly as one of the best strikers in the middleweight division. So Ferreira on the other end can hold his own on the feet, can also hold his own on the ground, and the clear advantage for Ferreira in this one, and why I'm going to be going with him, is just he has the extra ability to kind of go, how the fuck do I word this without sounding retarded? He has that extra grit, he has the finishing ability, he's hunting for the finish, he has the aggression, is going to be pushing forward the pace, and you have Petrosyan on the other end, who, like I said, is a good striker. I rate him pretty fairly, but at the end of the day, a bit of a decision merchant. And when you're going against a guy like Ferreira, who, if he's not going to gas out, I could see him taking out Petrosyan's lights or getting some kind of finish here. But when you look at Ferreira's only losses in the UFC, all right, you're looking at Abus Magomedov, who, all right, like kind of a guy who is good enough to be lurking outside the rankings, and you got Nursultan Ruziboyev, who you can arguably, I'd say a little bit step down, but you could arguably say around the same thing. But then you have Petrosyan, all right, like, is he on the level of Magomedov and Ruziboyev? Because other than that, man, Ferreira has just been taking out everybody in the UFC on the feet, including RoboCop. So granted, that was a little bit ago, but still, I mean, the wins over Gregory Rodriguez, like I just said, Phil Hawes, like some of these wins that Ferreira is getting, man, he's beating skill guys, and honestly, I think that he's going to be able to get it done against Petrosyan, who, don't get me wrong, good striker. I think he's going to be able to hold his own, but I see maybe like a second round KO coming from Ferreira here. Petrosyan has the ability to hold his own, and if he has the right IQ here, and if he's able to maintain the distance, find all the right shots, and is able to kind of just outgas or outlast Ferreira, take it into the deep waters, put on a good pressure and kind of mixing also not getting beat the fuck up because Ferreira is dangerous. But if you can kind of gas him out, I think that could be Petrosyan's key to victory here. And I think there is a reason why he's a favorite. You know what I'm saying? So it's a fair bet if you want to put on Petrosyan, but I'm going to be going with Ferreira here. I think he just gets it done. I think he has the veracity. Is that a fucking word? Ferocity? Whatever the fuck. I don't even know how the damn I'm spelling it, but I think he has what it takes to goddamn get it done. So moving on up next. Now the card is really starting to cook here. It's kind of just banger after banger after this, but we have Joshua Van, my favorite flyweight and one of my favorite prospects in the goddamn UFC. So I'm rooting for Van all day here, going against Ray Tsuruya, who, don't get me wrong, Ray, sure, you're a nice guy, got some nice wrestling, alright, but get the fuck out of here because it's Van all day. One of my locks of the card, alright, only 23 years of age, but we're just seeing such activity, we're seeing such a fun fighting style. I think there's a couple things that hold Van back. A, he's small for flyweight, which is concerning because flyweight is about as small as you get, alright. Pretty soon it's going to be 2029 in the Apex, and it's going to be me versus Joshua Van fighting for the atomweight strap, alright. But hopefully it doesn't come to that because Van, even though he's suffering from a size disadvantage at flyweight, another thing that holds him back is the lack of power, which I will say is kind of there. It can develop, he's 23, so he's still very young, but enough of the things that are kind of holding Van back here. Let's talk about the good and why I'm going to be favoring him in this matchup, okay? Ray Tsuruya, I'm having a hard fucking time with this guy's name, y'all. I'm really sorry, but he's got good grappling, and I feel like his striking is okay, but it's not nearly as on Van's level in terms of output, or like I said, Van doesn't have a lot of pop behind his shots, but even then I'd say it's more than Tsuruya. But Tsuruya's plan is clearly going to be able to take this one to the ground. I feel like he's going to be pretty aggressive and adamant to do so in the first round, especially really trying to set the pace with this one. But Joshua Van has good motherfucking takedown defense. Already, like I said, an active flyweight. We've seen a solid amount of fights out of him. I think he's 5-1 in the UFC, so he's getting the fuck after. He's only been around for a little bit, but from what we've seen, man, the defensive grappling and the takedown defense in general is there. And then when it comes to just a battle on the feet, I mean, it's a little bit of night and day here because not to praise and glaze Joshua Van, but dude, his striking, man, the most, I believe, significant strike output in the UFC right now. And again, he's at the point where he's racking up a few fights, so it's not just some pitter-patter stat, all right? He's getting the fuck after it. He has extremely high volume, extremely high output. If there was only a little bit more power, all right, like if there was only a little bit more finishing ability from Van, I think that's kind of a thing that's missing here. But again, maybe it'll develop, maybe it's a thing, maybe he just, I don't even know what the fuck, all right? I don't even know what the fuck, but I still see a second round TKO coming from Joshua Van here. Maybe third round. I'm going to be going with third round TKO coming from Joshua Van here. I think it's just the volume's going to be too much. And Tsuruya, I feel like, might get a couple of takedowns in the early going, maybe in the first round, like I said, if he's especially extra adamant about it and really is just trying to push that as the game plan. But like I said, I think Van's going to be able to stuff a lot of them. And as the fight gets more and more on, some people say that Joshua Van is a slow starter. I actually kind of disagree. Like, I don't think he's necessarily like a slow starter, like on like a Cheeto Veras as an example kind of level, but I will say that he does pick it up as the fight goes further and further down. Like, there is a difference between Van and the second and third and beyond. Well, we don't know what the fuck beyond, but there is a clear difference in the second and third than the first. But I think Van still gets the fuck after it enough to where I don't really consider him a slow starter. But I see what people are saying by that, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I think that Van, his defensive grappling is going to be able to hold his own against Tsuruya, who, don't get me wrong, he's 10-0, he's undefeated, he has looked good, he's also young. We got 23 and 22, but I think that Tsuruya, for as talented as he is, and I think that there's some winnable matchups for him in the UFC. This is his debut, I believe, but I think there's a reason why he's sitting at an underdog. And I just, not to just praise and glaze Joshua Van, but at the end of the day, I'm a big believer in the talents. And originally Bruno Silva was going to be his opponent. I really like that matchup a lot more, obviously. Like, seeing Joshua Van get to step up in the rankings, and again, I just think stylistically it was a really good matchup. Bruno was probably going to be hungry coming off the Manel Cop loss, but it's an alright replacement, I guess. But would have loved to see Van versus Silva, but it is what it is. It is what it is, better. We'll find out Saturday night, so hopefully we fucking get that one eventually, bro. So moving on, going with Joshua Van, third round TKO. Moving on up next here to the featured prelim, baby. All right, Curtis Blaydes defending the UFC's honor, defending the heavyweight division. Yeah, taking on Rizvan, the best of the blobs, Kuniev here. So I say the best of the blobs, man, because I really do think that well, I should probably start my prediction. If it's not kind of obvious, Curtis Blaydes, I'm going to be going with him. I say second round or first round KO. Rizvan Kuniev, all right, the best of the blobs here. Now, you look at that 12-2 record, all right, and you see some of these great finishes that he's getting. You see, actually, he's got a shit ton of finishes, all right? Kuniev gets the fuck after it. You're looking at the Renan Ferreira win, and you're thinking, all right, man, like, that's a recognizable name. That's the guy that beat Ngannou, all right? But there's a couple asterisks next to Kuniev here, all right? One being that he's popped, all right? It was for multiple different substances, and it was kind of one of those blatant cases where it's like, all right, this guy's kind of fucking cheating here. So Kuniev went and did that, all right? But he's coming off a win of the Contender Series, and now he's here getting a fucking debut shot against Curtis Blaydes. And it pisses you off beyond belief. To my assumption, it pisses me off beyond belief. It just doesn't really make any fucking sense. I'm looking at these matchups in the heavyweight division, which is such a dry fucking state right now, and it's suffering a lot of problems from lack of talent, lack of prospects, lack of a champion leading the way. You know, Tommy Aspinall's chomping at the bit, trying to do something, but he fucking can't. John Jones is all, y'all know in Naruto, I don't even fucking like Naruto, but you know how the fox was behind the cage or whatever. That's Tom Aspinall, all right? And you got John Jones in front of the cage, just fucking controlling whatever the fuck's going on, dude. And it's frustrating for the heavyweight division, man. And it's just to see shit like this on the side, you know, as if Aspinall getting pushed on the side wasn't enough, as if John Jones holding up the division wasn't enough, as if the lack of prospects or whatever, as if Cyril Gane, the number one contender fight against Volkov, winning via robbery wasn't enough. Now you're doing Rizvan Kuniev getting a top 5 matchup. I don't even know if he wins, if it's good or bad for the division, honestly. I'm leaning towards bad. I'm a Curtis Blaydes guy, to be honest. I'm a fan of Blaydes, also from around like the Chicago area, so I'm a little bit fucking biased, all right? But Blaydes, I fuck with the guy. See, because here's the thing, though. Here's the fucking thing, you guys. If you're beating Curtis Blaydes, you're on kind of like that top 5 level, okay? Because he's losing to Tom Aspinall, Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, Sergey Pavlovich, okay? These are the few men in the UFC, at least to my knowledge. Yeah, okay, so there we go. Sorry, I had to fucking fact check, but I really did have to fact check. I didn't want to botch that. But yeah, Curtis Blaydes, those are his only losses. So say what you want about guys like Lewis or Pavlovich. Yeah, they are beatable, but at the end of the day, they are kind of like that upper echelon level. And, well, I'm talking about Prime Lewis. Prime Lewis, baby, yeah. But basically, yeah, if you're beating Curtis Blaydes, you're on that level. And I just don't think that Kuniev is, man. Like, Blaydes has had a year now since, holy shit, it's literally almost been a year. That's crazy, but almost a year. Yeah, a little bit less. I'm sorry. I'm moving forward in time here, fucking. But Blaydes, it's been a good amount of time since the Tom Aspinall loss. I feel like it wasn't even one of those, like, brutal flatline KOs either. I feel like Blaydes was able to kind of recover pretty solid. You know, I know some people were complaining about that stoppage. It's wrong, respectfully. Like, it was a fine stoppage. There was nothing wrong with it. All right, so cut enough of the bullshit. But Blaydes, I think, has this one. I think that Kuniev is the best of the blobs here. I don't even know if I finished my point with that earlier, but I think that he is pretty solid. I do think that his striking is kind of impressive, like at least for heavyweight standards. He has power behind his shots. I'm not rating like the standing gillies he's getting in some of these random like on the scene or on the regional scene title fights like very highly, but it is kind of something to his arsenal, like to know that, you know, he's a little bit versatile in there, all right? And, you know, he's racking up a lot of finishes. The dude is technically dangerous for Curtis Blaydes. I think this could be one of those wild card fucking random ass finishes where Kuniev wins and now he gets put in the top 5. I'm really hoping not. Really hoping that's not the case, but we're dealing with an S-tier blob here, okay? So we got the S-tier blob, Rizvan Kuniev taking on Curtis Blaydes, who I just don't think that Kuniev's on that level, man. I don't think he's on that upper echelon level. I'm sure that Kuniev could beat a lot of guys in the UFC. I'm sure he can, even in the fucking rankings, all right? But no, especially knowing heavyweight standards, it wouldn't fucking surprise me too damn much. Kuniev seems solid for heavyweight standards, but dude, Blaydes has got this one, okay? Even if Kuniev tries to take it down, he's getting fucking stuffed. Blaydes is too good down there. There's levels to this. I think that Blaydes is going to be defending the UFC's honor with this one, all right? And we're all rooting for him, hopefully at least. If you're picking Kuniev, honestly, it's not that crazy of a pick. I understand that some people may say like, oh, like, if you're picking Kuniev, you're just doing it for attention. Or if you're picking Kuniev, you're lying to yourself or whatever the fuck. Like, I don't know, man. I can see it maybe, but I'm confident in Blaydes here. I just think that we're going to see a difference in skill level, and Blaydes is going to show why he's fucking top 5 worthy. I mean, I think he's going to have the striking here. I think he's going to have the wrestling, the fight IQ, the experience. and I'm going to go with Blaydes via our first or second round KO. Moving on, up next here, opening up the main card, we got Big Bad Queen, Princess, King, whatever the fuck you want to call him. I'm going to call him Bobby Green, all right? Like, I'm sorry, Bobby, but it's Bobby fucking Green. I'm not getting on one knee, pause, and fucking doing one of two things, and one being calling you king. I'm not doing that shit. I'm not doing any of that shit. What the fuck am I doing to myself? Subscribe, please. But Bobby Green here, taking on Mauricio Ruffy. And Green is at a disrespectful plus 350. I'm going to say that. Yeah, I'm going to be picking Ruffy to win this one. Don't get me wrong. But all right, man. It's a little bit of disrespectful odds here. And I think that Green has a shot of getting it done. Like, again, I'm not going to be that guy that's sitting on the fence here, all right? I want to make it very fucking clear. I'm going with Ruffy. I think he's going to win via either a decision. You know, I think Green's going to make this one competitive. Or if Green's chin isn't really there, or Ruffy really just kind of does find all the right shots and does get that finish, I think a second round is what it might be. So second round KO for Ruffy or a decision here. Now here's the thing. Here's the fucking thing, you guys. Why I think that Green does have a solid shot, all right? The experience level, I mean, Jesus Christ, this guy's got 50 plus fights, okay? And with that comes a lot of losses, a lot of damage, which is very concerning for Green, especially at this older age of his career and where he's been losing kind of a bit frequently. But with that also comes experience. Like, we've seen Green in a little bit of situations like this before, and he's come out on top, okay? Like, Green is a guy who, good boxing, you know, solid cardio, knows how to kind of put on a good pressure and volume here. But at the end of the day, man, he's very hittable and is very beatable. His ground game just isn't it, man. And when it comes to on the feet, like, yeah, he is solid, like I said. Like, he could beat a lot of guys, but only when it comes to, I feel like, that certain level. Especially now that he's not even in his prime anymore. You know what I mean? Like, Ruffy's a guy who, coming out of the best fucking camp in the UFC right now, the Fighting Nerds, and their guy, Gene Silva, just got an amazing way to kind of open up their year. And I feel like Ruffy's just going to pass it on. They're like a fucking relay, all right? They're passing the baton on every goddamn other event, it feels like, and they're just keeping the hype going. And I don't see King Green being the guy, because I feel like once these guys start losing, I feel like it's going to be a domino effect and they all might start going down, all right? But I don't think Green is the guy that's going to be stopping the hype, especially our Ruffy here. A lot of people give this guy, you know, the Conor McGregor comparison, sorry, and all that bullshit. It's like I'm doing the coke that McGregor's doing, but Ruffy really is, I feel like I can understand the comparisons, all right? He's very fluid on the feet, has some good knockout power. I understand that his last opponent, it was crazy. I was at the DraftKings bar, y'all, and I was telling my friends, you know, kind of casual watchers or whatever, and some of the prelims were kind of on and off, so I was telling them, like, all right, this next guy, Mauricio Ruffy, it's going to be done in one. He's taking on this jabroni jobber, James Liontop. Look at me, now I'm remembering the son of a bitch's name. How could I fucking forget? Because literally, I was telling these guys, hey, it's going to be done in one. He's going to go out there and whoop this jabroni, and literally James Liontop, man, this son of a bitch just went out there and he knew that his job was on the line. It really fucking was, but he knew that that was on the line and he was willing to die in that cage, all right? He outdid Adesanya and that shit, bro, and he went out there and he showed Cheeto Vera level chin, and he went out there and made Ruffy look fucking mortal, all right? You might as well put his record of 11 and 1.5. James Liontop left his soul in there, all right? And it's fucking crazy to see because Ruffy did look really clean in the first and the third round, especially, I believe. I know the third round was the round especially where Liontop fucking went crazy with it, but it does concern me how Liontop's a guy who is a jobber and a jabroni in the UFC, wasn't that great of a talent, and he still made it semi-competitive against Ruffy, who was landing good shots in him. You know, he was very patient with it. It didn't seem like he was hunting for the finish too much, more so just finding all the right shots, and which he did. He really was piecing him the fuck up, and was just completely like, you know, you could tell that Ruffy's a guy that has a lot of power, has good pop behind his shots, and against Green, man, I think it's going to connect. And I know it's like MMA math that doesn't make sense, because if Ruffy can't finish Liontop, how's he going to finish anybody in the top 15 or anybody in the UFC? Alright, shut your mouth, kid, alright? Because I actually think that that's what's going to be happening here with King Green. You know, if this was a few years ago, you know, with Bobby Green, hey, you know, before he changed his name, before he had a little bit of that extra Jalen Turner damage, maybe I'd be going with Green here. But I will say that I can't see him possibly getting it done. I could totally see a fraud check here, alright? I know I'm hyping up Ruffy, and I do think his striking is elite. It's very fluid. He's quick. He's precise. technical, but also has power. Like, Ruffy is fucking good, all right? The ground game, no fucking clue. We're going to have to find out eventually with him, but I don't think Green's the guy that's going to take it down there. And honestly, man, even regardless, I think Green could maybe hold his own in the feet here. You know, if he can avoid getting finished, I can see him making it competitive enough to maybe win a decision. But honestly, I just think the age, the momentum, the power, just kind of a lot of the advantages, man, are just on Ruffy's side. And I feel like this is just one of those passing of the torch fucking situations here. And the prospect is going to go over on this one. It's in the script, bro. It's in the script. I'm sorry. But moving on, up next to what I believe, truly motherfucking believe, will be fight of the night here. Jalen Turner taking on Ignacio Bahamondes. Very close in the betting odds. Very, very close. I think that Jalen Turner, a few days ago, was the slight favorite, and now the tables have motherfucking turned to Bahamondes here. Sitting at a minus 130 from what I'm looking at, and dude, this is a very tough fight to call, all right? I think this is going to be a back and forth war. I honestly think that as much of high finishing abilities as both of these guys have, I think this is going to go to the distance here, and I'm going to be going with, I wish I could do a little fucking drum roll or whatever. Did y'all see that fruity little, look at this fruity little, I'm going to be going with Jalen Turner. All right, this is my underdog of the card here, okay? This is one of those picks that I'm not super confident in, but I'm just confident enough to where I'm like, fuck it. All right, fuck it. Like, you know what? It's an underdog here. And again, this is just a tough one to call because both these guys coming in at fucking like One Piece villain level height here, right? For their giants for the lightweight division here, but both guys are 6'3". They have a matching reach. And honestly, very close in age as well. I mean, Turner's been around the UFC for a bit longer and has had a lot more experience with higher level competition than Bahamondes has. So you're kind of crazy to realize that only Turner isn't even 30 yet. Like, when I thought about Turner the other day, I'm like, all right, it's Turner fight week. Like, I thought the dude was like 32, but no, he's 29 years old, and Bahamondes is 27. But Bahamondes is a guy who, he is beatable. I do think this is kind of a very random very random shot in the rankings to give someone. There's guys like Ludovic Klein or Farasi Yalma out there, but we're going with Bahamondes, so it's like Bahamondes is on a solid win streak right now. I think the last time he fought was at the Sphere card, getting a good win over, I fucking forgot who the fuck off the top of my head, but he pieced him up, and it was a good win, so Bahamondes is coming off of that, and now Turner versus Bahamondes, I think it's going to be a back and forth war. Again, these guys physically match each other pretty similarly, but when it comes to the skill level, I think that when it comes to the defensive grappling, or even arguably offensive, whatever the fuck, let's just call it the grappling in general, and the striking, when it comes to, the speed, the precision, and even the power, I think I'm going to be going with Jalen Turner to kind of have those edges. It's very close, Bahamondes has some nasty fucking kicks, just good striking in general. He as well has good power and like good finishing ability. I mean, both these guys have Turner, I'm pretty sure, has the 100% finish rate, and Bahamondes, man, knows how to get the fuck after it and rack up some finishes as well. So I think this is going to be a barn burner, man. It all just depends on how are the chins of these guys, okay? And is Bahamondes ready for kind of this like level of competition right now? And another thing too, I'm kind of taking a big risk here with Turner because I feel like this is one of those fights where this kind of depends on the guy. Because Turner, skill for skill wise, like I said, has what it takes to beat Bahamondes. But here's the fucking thing where it gets hard, man. Turner, we've seen in the past, can give up. And we've also seen, on top of that, some low fight IQ. So when you're dealing with that, and the most notably, the Renato Moicano performance, but we've also seen it in the past before, man, where there are times where he might step off the gas a little bit, or there are times where he might just kind of straight up give up, like against Moicano, or there might be times where, and I'm not counting, where he walked away from the finish. I'm talking about like when before the ground and pound and Moicano was actually kind of just beating him up, like Turner just kind of accepted it, and it's just, you don't like to kind of see that. I think that it was more so of a thing where Turner was just kind of done mentally in there, like we had a hard time recovering from like, realizing he fucked up getting the walk-away finish. And I think it's hard, probably when you're an athlete, to like kind of recover from that, you know what I mean? So even then, there's moments like that, or again, stepping off the gas, or just low fight IQ, or poor decision-making in there. But you know what? He's still young, and I think that the time off since the Moicano fight in UFC 300, I really think that this is going to be like a learning time for him. Like, this is going to be in the One Piece arc, all right, where they all go away for those 2 years. Let's make it one, and this is Jalen Turner, and he's coming back a new fucking man. I feel like maybe not a new man entirely, that part I'm exaggerating, but basically what I'm trying to say is I think he's going to learn from the mistakes of not giving up on the finish. Like, if there's an opportunity, fucking seize it until the ref is fucking pulling you off. I think he's going to fucking forever have that edge in his mind. I think that too, he's going to know when to not fucking step off the gas, when he's going to know how to keep maintaining the pressure, hunt for the finish, kind of just be able to hold his own in the pocket with some of these guys, and just be able to trust in his striking and trust in his power, man, and just get the fuck after it. Because there's been some close decisions, like, the one against Gamrot, it doesn't go his way, so it's like, and even the one against Dan Hooker as well, where it's like these fights are competitive and close, and some people had it going for Turner, but they just don't go his way. And if Turner can really learn from this, and if he can improve the fight IQ, if there's a finish that presents itself, and if he can follow the fuck through with it, if he can not give up in there, if he can use the skill set that he has and just fucking go and just show it for what it is, man, I think that that's how he's going to beat Bahamondes. So I'm trusting in that, then trusting that we'll see the improvements from Turner. He's still young, and he's a fucking talented dude, and I'm going to trust that he's going to be able to get the better of this one, man. But we'll see, because Bahamondes is motherfucking dangerous. Like I said, random shot at the rankings, but you know what? The skills are there, and he is on kind of a solid winning streak right now. He's fun for the division, he puts on good fights, and I feel like having a new name in the rankings could be something. But you know what? There's something to be said about Turner as well, like the experience level. Like I said, these losses, like to Gamrot and Hooker, like let alone the other guys and even the people he's beating. Like, the point is the difference in competition level between Bahamondes' record and Turner's, especially as of recently, like there's kind of a clear difference there. So I think that's also going to be a factor, if I kind of didn't already mention that before. But going to be a good scrap, man. Really fucking looking forward to this one. But yeah, I'm going to be going with Jalen Turner. So moving on up next to the co-main event here. Justin Gaethje taking on Rafael Fiziev. So this is a really tough one to call here. And I do want to say that when this fight was first announced, I wasn't too excited about it, but it's been growing on me. It's been growing on me now that, seeing how the betting odds have been changing and hearing people's opinions on it and stuff like that. Like, it's making me excited for it, especially now that it's fight week and shit. So my prediction here, I'm going to be going with Fiziev. I'm going to be going with Fiziev. When I first heard this fight announced, I was like, Gaethje all day. And then I was like, Home of Fight or someone's page. I saw that Gaethje opened up as the underdog, all right? Couldn't believe my damn eyes. Had to open up DraftKings myself, and I saw it, and it's like, dude, Gaethje all day. But I'm glad I didn't make the bet, fellas. Now, granted, if Gaethje wins and you're coming back here and watching this for some reason, I mean, dude, all right, this is going to look like shit, all right? This is going to age like milk. I'm sorry, but I think that Fiziev's going to win this one, man. Like, I know that Gaethje is some nice plus money. It's like a plus 135 from what I'm looking at on my screen right now. But, dude, Fiziev, I was very confused at first why Fiziev was the favorite. I was like, damn, man, like Gaethje, I understand he's coming off of a really rough loss. He got fucking 49-46 and brutally KO'd, flatlined, whatever the fuck at the same time. But even then, like, he's still, and then you look at that 8-5 record and you think Justin Gaethje's mid. But at the end of the day, man, like, he's only fought killers, and I don't mean to sound like Joe Rogan, like, only killers Justin Gaethje's fought, man. He's the BMF of the UFC. Nobody's touching this guy. He's unbelievable. Not trying to fucking be that, but I'm just saying, I do think that Gaethje really is fucking dangerous, and I do think that his record and resume and fights and just, I mean, we all, can, even if you don't love Gaethje, you respect what the fuck he's done because he's put on some fucking wars, and in the last few fights, we've seen this new side of him, very patient and technical, but he's come out on record, man, and he said that he's not going to be doing that in this fight. He said that he's going to go back to, how he was. I don't even know how he worded it. He either said he's going to go back to how he was before those performances, or he's going to incorporate, like, just that aggressiveness that he had, whatever the fuck, but he's trying to get the fuck after it, and I think that might work against him, all right? You got a guy who, like Fiziev, who's hungry as fuck right now to get the fuck after it, all right? Very bizarre how he was looking for fights so much the past few months, and all of a sudden this one popped up, and, he just got it. It's like, where the fuck have you been, brother? But you know what? Glad to have Fiziev back. He was kind of holding on to that number 10 or 11 ranking spot for a bit of a while now. But now Fiziev, he's fucking working for it, but it's against Justin Gaethje. Huge opportunity for him. He's going to be hungry as fuck, is what I'm saying. He's going to be hungry not only to redeem the loss, but also, like, this is a big pay-per-view spot. This is his comeback fight after a year or two. Like, he's going to be just he's itching at the bone here, fucking chewing down on the mouthpiece, man. And I think that first round, both these guys are going to be relentless. Well, like I said, mixing in with Gaethje trying to go out there and be more aggressive than he has in the past few fights, I think that the technicality, I will say this, for Justin Gaethje has actually been working out pretty well for him. I think that him finding the nice in-between of, the aggressiveness he once had and the new patience and technicality that he displays in his past few fights is actually a pretty good idea. It just depends on how he's going to balance that out, It's kind of a hard line to cross, but we'll fucking see how that shit plays out. But Fiziev is gonna want Justin Gaethje's top 5 spot as well, man. Like, he's just coming into this fight very excited, very just hungry for the opportunity, very grateful above all things, probably, like, based on the interviews I'm seeing and shit like that. Like, he's very glad to have this opportunity. And Gaethje, man, I feel like he's just on the latter end of his career. When you go skill for skill wise, I honestly, I've said this on the channel before too. Like, I think Fiziev's skill set is a bit overrated. Like, people talk about him like this fucking Godzilla of a fighter, and he's just flatlining people, but that's not really the case. Like, he's got his fair share of good finishes, but at the end of the day, his Muay Thai, very good, very skilled. Fiziev is just explosive in there. I know that he has a gas tank problem, and he does get progressively kind of worse after that second round and just kind of dies out. Like, the cardio is a problem for him. God bless that this isn't a 5 round for his sake and for my wallet, because again, Fiziev's in my parlay, God help me. But Fiziev, I do think skill wise is a bit overrated. People talk about like him like he's a generational, once in a lifetime talent, some legend killer, but I just don't really think that that's the case. Like, I do think the guy is good. I'm picking him over Justin Gaethje, who again I was praising earlier. Like, I rate Justin Gaethje highly. I think that he's a fucking legend, and I think skill wise, I really do think that he's better. I just think this is a matter of father time. I think it's a matter of ring rust. I think it's a matter of confidence, the opportunity, and just Fiziev's. I don't think it's like a crazy skill gap. Like, I think that Gaethje is the better striker, but I just think that the gap isn't big enough to where it'd be like such a wide margin to where I'd be so confident in Gaethje just going out there and whooping him, especially now that he's at the older age. Like, the fact that Fiziev is so hungry for this, and the fact that, again, like, the gap wasn't too big in the first place. Like, he's coming into this the younger fighter, the hungrier fighter. He has more to want to prove, more to want to do, and I just think he really wants that top 5 spot. Like, again, the guy has solid pop behind his shots. His Muay Thai is good. Justin Gaethje, who, say whatever the fuck you want about the last fight, but he's got a good chin. He's hung in there with some of the best in the fucking world. Lost a few of those times, all right, but at the end of the day, man, he's won a lot of those times as well. So Gaethje, underrated resume. I'll fucking say that. An underrated skill set. Like, I know that the guy never fucking uses wrestling. Say whatever the hell you want about it. I mean, he got a fucking takedown on Fiziev the first time, and even in interviews, Gaethje's kind of been like, maybe I'll use the wrestling, but don't they kind of fucking say that sometimes? I don't even know, dude. I really do feel like, fuck that. I feel like it's going to be a back and forth stand and bang war. I don't really see either guy taking this fight to the ground. If it is, maybe I could see it being Gaethje, but I don't think he's going to be trying to do all that, man. Justin Gaethje does bounce back pretty good after losses. We've seen that time and time in his career over and over again, so he's coming off of this Holloway loss, and I believe this is like the most time he's taken off, if not close to it. So Justin Gaethje now, man, he's fucking ready to go out there, and I just don't know what he's got to prove out there, man. We're gonna have to see how hungry he is for this. He has the power to do it. He has the skills on the feet. We've seen him kind of go and drag guys in at deep waters a couple of times, but Justin Gaethje, looking at how these guys' first fight went, I think that's a big reason, a part of why Justin Gaethje has that attitude for people, or has people making that attitude of like, oh, like, have you seen the first fight? Justin Gaethje went out there and whooped him. Justin Gaethje whooped him in the first fight. Did you see the first fight? Like, they're just feeding Fiziev to Gaethje. I don't really think so, man. Like, the first fight was a lot closer than a lot of people remember. Like, granted, Gaethje was kind of the clear winner there, and say whatever the fuck you wanted about the eye pokes or whatever. It's not like Gaethje was trying to fucking kill him in there, but, well, he was, but not via eye pokes. You know what I'm saying? So, but Gaethje was the clear winner of the first one, and at the end of the day, though, man, I just think that Fiziev's got this one. I think that timing is everything in this one. I just think that the skills are there enough for Fiziev to be able to take this one. I feel like he's probably reflected a lot on the first Gaethje fight, more than Gaethje probably has, because Gaethje came out victorious and looking to kind of aim for bigger names or whatever. But for Fiziev, it mattered a lot more. It was a loss to him, probably a lot more raw of just a moment for him, and it's just like, I feel like he is going to want to fix what he did in the first fight, and who knows, maybe his cardio will be improved, like, with all the time off and recovering from these other injuries, you know what I mean? Like, you work on other things, you have a lot of this downtime to kind of just fix holes in your game, and so hopefully with Fiziev, we're going to see either one of two things. I mean, one, he goes out there and he's still the exact same fighter he was before, or we see a lot of improvements, maybe he, I mean, I don't even know the fuck what it may be. Maybe it might be the cardio, maybe it might be the ground game, maybe it might be whatever the fuck. Like, I'm going to be going with Rafael Fiziev to take this one. It's for sure a risky pick. Gaethje's going to be fucking dangerous. I'm definitely not very confident in this pick, but I'm confident enough, to where I'm going to be picking Fiziev. So I think he gets it done either second round, KO or decision. That's what I'm gonna be going with. So moving on up last here to the big bad main event. What we've all been waiting for, fellas. All right, we got Alex Pereira, a huge legacy fight for him, taking on Magomed Ankalaev, the clear and true #1 contender. Big Ank, as they say, practically undefeated. I know he lost to Paul Clegg, but that's an S tier loss. All right. Other than that, I mean, a very underrated resume on the side of Ankalaev. This is a super highly anticipated fight that we've really been waiting for a long fucking time. I don't know what the betting odds are on your screen. I just put him as a pick'em because I wake up one day and Pereira is the slight favorite. Like, I'm talking slight too, like a -115, and I wake up the next morning and then it's Ankalaev. So I have no fucking idea. This fight is as close to a pick'em as it gets. I really don't know. Like, I don't like how they keep just fucking being wishy-washy with it and just changing it. Like, I think just make it a pick'em, like how they did for Duplessis and Adesanya. Like, this is that level of who the fuck knows. And I know it's interesting that I'd say more people than not are leaning towards Pereira or picking Pereira to win this one, but I still think that this fight is a 50-50. You know what I mean? I just think that it's easy to kind of go with Pereira because a lot of people know who he is or are more comfortable with watching his fights or shit like that. But at the end of the day, stylistically, my pick is going to be Pereira. I think regardless of whatever the popular opinion is or the not so popular opinion, I don't give a fuck, all right? Look at the co-main. Everybody's going with goddamn Justin Gaethje. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to fucking be that. I'm going to be that guy. And I'm going with Fiziev there. Might age like milk, but I'm going to be going with Alex Pereira here. I'm thinking a 3rd round knockout or a 2nd round knockout. Now, here's the thing. I was on a run the other day with one of my buddies, right? And he's like a casual watcher, but he knows what's up with like the big names and shit like that. So, you know, we were talking about this fight coming up right now, Pereira versus Ankalaev. He was talking about why he thinks Pereira's gonna win. And he was saying, you know, oh, this Ankalaev guy, like, he ain't no Marab and he ain't no Khabib. He's not like that kind of level of wrestler. Like, he's got good wrestling, but he's not on like that level. Like, it's not even primarily his thing. Like, he's mostly a striker. And I'm like, you know what? You son of a bitch, like, you're fucking right. All right. Like, if you really think about it, Ankalaev, man, at the end of the day, like, primarily is a striker. I mean, it's not even like he's the type to do a type of Marab type performance, or a lot of these guys where it's just smudging up against the fence or like shooting takedowns immediately at the get-go, or just like, you know, by the end of the first 2 rounds you already got like 20 attempts. Like, Ankalaev isn't that guy. Like, he's very comfortable on the feet. He's primarily a striker. He's definitely the most well-rounded fighter in the division, in my opinion. Like, yeah, Blachowicz is solidly well-rounded, and so is Prochazka, but at the end of the day, like, Ankalaev utilizes everything pretty evenly and efficiently, whereas Blachowicz and Prochazka don't really use their grappling too much or other things in their game. Like, they primarily want to kind of stand and bang and keep their fights on the feet, whereas Ankalaev is comfortable kind of blending into both worlds, and that's why I think it's fair to say he's definitely the most well-rounded fighter that Pereira is going to be facing for the light heavyweight division. He's the true next #1 contender, man. But at the end of the day, for as good as his wrestling is, along with his striking, along with his cardio, fight IQ, like, Ankalaev is good kind of everywhere, but at the end of the day, I just don't think his wrestling is going to be to the crazy enough caliber to where he's going to be submitting Alex Pereira or just absolutely just fucking racking up 5 minutes of control time per round. You know what I mean? Like, nothing crazy like that. Like, is Ankalaev going to get Pereira down? Absolutely. I can almost guarantee it. Is it going to happen more than 5 times? Okay, hopefully not, but I could see it. I still, regardless, think that Pereira is going to win, because I think there's so many more situations where I can see Ankalaev being uncomfortable here. I mean, if Ankalaev did just want to go out there and make it a boring as fuck fight, just completely say fuck it and just stick to just the pure wrestling game plan, forget whatever the fuck is on the feet, just forget any action of standing and banging, you know, realizing that Pereira is dangerous as fuck when it comes to the kickboxing with the precision, and especially when the fight gets dangerous or in the pocket or whatever the fuck, or pressure's high, or even when Pereira is rocked, like, it doesn't really matter. He thrives in that kind of environment, whereas Ankalaev more so does not. So, kind of playing to his element. So, there's a lot of dangerous scenarios for Ankalaev on the feet going against a guy like Pereira, even shooting in for these takedowns. Like, he's got to be fucking worried about that. So, Ankalaev, man, if he really does just go out there and says fuck it and throws caution to the wind, is just focused completely on the wrestling, I think that's gonna be, I mean, how he would get it done, but I just don't think he's that type of fighter. Now, I'm not even just saying like, oh, he's not that boring. Like, I do think that he gets way too many boring allegations, and I don't think that Ankalaev is that. But at the end of the day, like, it just comes down to his fucking style. Like, he's not more so of a wrestler than a striker. He's more so of a striker than a wrestler who just so happens to have good fucking wrestling, especially for light heavyweight standards, which is a division that is bone fucking dry, basically, right next to heavyweight for wrestlers. You could argue that heavyweight has more wrestlers that are, or has more wrestling heavy contenders than fucking light heavyweight. And that is sad, sir. That is sad. But at the end of the day, man, I think Pereira still got this one, you know? Like, look at the Jan Blachowicz performance. I feel like that's the closest comparison we're going to get. I know that Big Ank and Jan, when they actually fought, when it came to the wrestling, Ankalaev was fucking whooping him. But Blachowicz, he didn't really do anything when he had Pereira down, you know what I mean? And that's why Pereira won the decision. It all boiled down to Pereira efficiently getting back up on the feet, doing the better of the exchanges there, and then Jan just kind of gassed out and didn't really do anything with the wrestling. I don't think that Ankalaev is A, going to be that high of urgency to get the fight to the ground. I think he should, but I don't think he will. And B, I just don't think if he did get Pereira down that he would just kind of smudge him like that or gas out. Like, I think he probably more efficiently use ground and pound or actually try and aim for a submission. Whereas Jan, I feel like, was just trying to survive in there and just didn't want to, you know, fight on the feet with Pereira, was just worried to kind of like that light heavyweight debut, worried about the power of Pereira, and that's all fair, but I don't think Ankalaev is going to, A, have that fear, and B, like, I just think, I don't know how comfortable he's going to be with the idea of standing and banging with Pereira, because Pereira, man, from the first round to the fifth, you got to be fucking ready with it, because he really can't take your lights out at any of that time. Like, if it is the first round, or if it is the last second of the fucking last round, like, you gotta fucking be ready for it, because Pereira is not only that level of striker because he is that good, but also he's just that fucking dangerous. He's that precise. I mean, Pereira pound for pound has some of the craziest power in the UFC, but I don't even think it's more so than a guy like Tsuruya. Like, I think that Pereira is so good at finding all the right shots. He has really good precision and timing, and when you mix that in with the cracked as fuck Super Saiyan power that the guy has, it kind of all comes together, and that's why Pereira is so fucking dangerous on the feet, and Ankalaev has to be ready for that. The fact that this is 25 minutes, you might look at that as a bad thing for Pereira, but Pereira progressively kind of gets more comfortable as the fight goes. I mean, look at the Khalil Roundtree fight. Roundtree was giving Pereira a lot of adversity and arguably won those first two rounds, and then you had, you know, Pereira in the third round all of a sudden became a new man and then took him out in the fourth. And, you know, Adesanya, look at the Adesanya fight. He won that first one in the fifth round, and just in general, like, he's winning a split decision against a guy like Jan Blachowicz. So the longer the fight goes, like, we've seen Pereira be comfortable in there. Like, his cardio is honestly pretty underrated. I'm not saying he has the craziest gas tank in the world or he puts on a crazy amount of pressure on guys or whatever the fuck, but it's underrated cardio, and I think that everything's going to be coming together where I think he's going to be able to survive the storm that Ankalaev is going to bring on the ground. Don't get me wrong, Ankalaev, again, good striker. I think he'll be able to hold his own. He's got solid pop behind his shots, but I just think the clear advantage on the feet is going to go to Pereira. And, you know, we'll see how the takedown defense is from Pereira. It's going to come down to that as well. How is he going to be able to survive this fucking storm? We're going to have to fucking find out, but I'm going to be going with Pereira. Very tough fight to call, but I'm sticking to my fucking guns here, and I'm thinking Pereira by a second or third round KO. So it's a great main event, though, and just getting down now to the blanks of the card. I've kind of fucked with doing this segment this year, so for all the predictions videos, we go over like the underdog of the card, locks of the card, wild card of the card, and my card rating. Kind of explains itself. So basically, just starting off here with who I think is the underdog of the card. I only picked two of them for this one, but I'm going to be going with Jalen Turner. I just have this feeling, bro, and again, I'm not super confident in it, but you know what? I've been doing solid with underdogs this year, and hopefully I can keep that train rolling. Last year I did fucking awful with underdogs, but I picked Robbie Font at Seattle. I had Zhang Wei Li. I had Vinicius Oliveira over Said Nurmagomedov. I had Renier de Ritter. I think he was a fucking underdog. Or against Kevin Holland. Maybe not, though. I don't remember, but I'm doing solid with underdogs this year, so hopefully we can keep that train going with Jalen Turner. It's going to be a close fight, don't get me wrong, but we'll fucking see. Moving on up next to my locks of the card here. So I'm going to be going with Joshua Van, Carlos Leal, and Mauricio Ruffy. No disrespect to Bobby Green there, but yeah, I'm going to be going with Joshua Van, Carlos Leal, and Mauricio Ruffy. Those are going to be my locks of the card. The only reason I'm not saying a guy like Curtis Blaydes or whatever is just because it's fucking heavyweight, and I could totally see some fucking abstract bullshit timing, or sorry, like crazy other timeline where Kuniev actually wins. Really fucking hoping not, and I think the betting odds are fair. Like, Blaydes should be a massive favorite, but I don't know, man. There's this weird feeling where I'm just not going to put him as a lock, but I do think he's going to win. But yeah, those are going to be my three locks for this card. And now moving on to the wild card of the card here. I almost was going to put Bobby Green, but basically, to summarize what this is, it's somebody who's kind of being overlooked, or someone that could really shake up the rankings, or someone that can kind of just really shake up the card in general with the win, like kind of being not talked about enough, or whatever the fuck, or however you want to word it. So that's the wild card of the card, and it's going to be the best of the blobs, this fucker Rizvan Kuniev, bro. I'm really hoping Blaydes wins, like I said, and I do think that he will. but at the end of the day, I can see a world where Kuniev might actually get it done, and it definitely would shake things up. But I hopefully fucking not. Hopefully we're not in that timeline. And getting on lastly to the card rating here. What am I gonna rate this bad boy from 1 to 10? This is a 7, y'all. This is a pretty good card. It's a really good main event. The co-main is solid, and the UFC did their best trying to find a solid replacement. So it's what they fucking do best. Say whatever you want about their wild ass matchmaking at times, but they're really good at kind of saving cards or finding these last minute replacements and shit like that. So solid co-main. Turner and Bahamondes is a banger. Having Lemos and Lucindo on the main card is a fucking kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. Green and Ruffy is great. Blaydes and Kuniev is a good feature prelim to have. Van and Tsuruya, Ferreira and Petrosyan, like those are fun fights. And then the other ones we got, I mean, you got Santos versus Marshall on the early prelims as well. Like there's kind of hidden bangers just throughout this card. So it's a 7 out of 10. I think if, you know, the WMMA fight was off the main card, or maybe like there was a little bit more on the prelims, we can move it up. But at the end of the day, it's a great card. Maybe if Hooker versus Gaethje was still there, maybe, you know, be moving up a little bit. But at the end of the day, a 7 is good. Like how I view it is that like a 5 is an average. So 7, it's a good fucking number here. It's a good card, and we're going to be hopefully fucking eating good with this one. So that is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you so very much for making it this far into the video. Appreciate y'all a lot, man. If you guys could help me get to 1,000 subscribers, I'd really, really appreciate it. But hopefully you guys have a fun time watching the fights this weekend, man. Let me know your picks in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. Appreciate y'all a lot for making this far in the video. Subscribe or not, whatever the fuck, dude. All the smoke, MMA here. Appreciate you guys a lot, and I will see you all next time.